Hello. Many of you had asked to know more information about Project 2025. I've done some research and I come up with my opinion about it, and I'm going to give you some of the documentation that I found and go over that with you. Project 2025 is a presidential transition project. It's a policy change and a vision for America. Um, when I asked the poll on YouTube, 96% of the people that voted said that they would like more information on Project 2025. So this isn't a real in-depth um, information, but it is some high level, something to give you information to think about and to do more research on your own. Um, the the Project 2025 was founded by the Heritage Foundation, and the Heritage Foundation began back in 1973 with Ronald Reagan. It's an American conservative think tank based in Washington, D.C., which is a research institute. And they established policies for Ronald Reagan, and he followed 60% of those recommendations. They have embedded in the Heritage Foundation a Heritage Action lobbyist group, which began back in 2010 to bring in more implementation of Project 2025. Now, President Trump said, I know nothing about Project 25. Yet he said, I disagree. So if he knew nothing about it, he's now saying he disagrees with some of the things, saying that some of the things that are absolutely ridiculous. However, now that the election is over with, Representative John Rose out of Tennessee says that this wasn't true at all. He said, in fact, he credits Project 2025 with helping Trump hit the ground running with a spate of executive orders that mirror many of the authoritarian and retrograde ideas presented in the document. Rose said, how do you think the president was prepared to issue all those executive orders? And he also said, how do you think they were prepared to make all of these appointments in such quick succession after he got into office? The answer is Project 2025. Now, America's government structure was built on a biblical organization. It says in Isaiah, the Lord is our judge, the Lord is our lawgiver, the Lord is our king. And so our system was based upon the judicial, the legislative, and the executive branch. Judicial meaning the branch that interprets the law, the legislative, the branch that creates the law, which is the House of Representatives and the Senate, and the executive, which is the king, or meaning the king, the branch that carries out or executes the laws. And the president is part of the executive branch. So that relates to the part in the Bible about the king, the lawgiver, and the judge, with the Supreme Court being part of the judge. So they have the Supreme Court with the judge, the House, the Representatives, and Senate with the lawgivers, and in alignment with the Bible, the king would be the president executing the laws. Now, this has become even more prominent with our president putting pictures of himself on social media with him with a crown on magazine covers. Long live the king! Many people believe that fascism is on the rise with dictatorship, and that things are changing. And so one thing that this document did was it put independent agencies such as the Department of Justice directly under the presidential control, giving him complete access to make decisions that wasn't precedent before him. So he, as the head of the executive branch, the changes to America in Project 25 says that he has inherent and extensive powers. He is the sole representative. The authority has the authority to make decisions without the other branches of government. And that is very important because that kind of supports, what people are saying about fascism. Kevin Roberts, he is the president of the Heritage Foundation, and he supports Trumpism. He said that he saw the Heritage's role as institutionalizing Trumpism. adding that the Trump administration, with the best intentions, simply got a slow start, but with Heritage and all the allies, there's over 100 of them in Project 2025, that can't be repeated. He said that, or it says that Trumpism is associated with the belief that the president is above the law. The roots of Trumpism in the United States can be traced back to the Jackson era. And this is a cartoon that's on Wikipedia in this era, also relating to Trumpism, an 1832 political cartoon depicting a two-term president, Andrew Jackson, as an autocratic king with the Constitution trampled beneath his feet. Unbelievable. So does Project 25 trample the Constitution, replace the Constitution? Well, I will tell you, in a lot of places, it sure looks like it to me. In 2022, the Heritage Foundation, a conservative-leaning think tank, and 140 former Trump staffers authored this document, and they called it a roadmap for how to replace the rule of law with right-wing ideals. Now, that may sound good. Conservative, we're going to learn what do they mean by conservative. Now, the Senate just recently nominated, or Russell Vogt was nominated to serve as the OMB director, the Office of Management and Budget, the one that decides where money is spent. Because before, the president needed Congress's approval before he could spend the money. Well, headlines now says Elon Musk is grabbing the headlines, but really, Russell Vogt may be even more dangerous than Elon Musk. He's not as flashy, but it's his vision of destroying the federal government that's being put into effect. Remember, he was the author of this document. He says, Russell Vogt said that he wanted to put civil servants in trauma, put them in trauma, he said. He said that he wanted to seek to make civil servants miserable in their jobs. In a private speech, he laid out plans to use armed forces to quell any domestic riots. He's a Christian nationalist. We're going to tell you what this means. It's not what you think it means. Vogt wanted the assault on civil servants to not just be dramatic, but ruthless. We want the bureaucrats to be traumatically affected. When they wake up in the morning, we want them not to go to work because they are increasingly viewed as the villains. We want to put them in trauma. Now, you're talking about all of the vets that they have laid off work, all of the thousands and thousands of people. That's who he's talking about. Without going through to see what kind of people they are, what kind of workers they are, what kind of jobs they do, he automatically wanted to put people in trauma. That mindset to me is very disturbing, especially to have someone like that over all of the money, the Office of Management and Budget, and he's a Christian nationalist. What's the Christian nationalist? You heard about this with Charlie Kirk, the one that's calling to normalize martyrdom, to show 12-year-old children beheadings. You also see a lot of people that's been appointed in the cabinet wearing crosses. That's a distraction. Look for the cross, because that is an outward expression of something to make you think that this is about Jesus Christ, when it's not. It's about controlling evangelicals, controlling Christians to go down the path with them, because Christian nationalism says that there's no separation of church and state. You're going to follow what they say is Christian, because this is going to bring persecution. Okay, not separating church and state has proven in the past to bring persecution. So be aware of when you see the word Christian. Christ is King is another key. The crosses, those types of things. Those are deceitful deception to get your mind that you think automatically, your mind, when you see that, word Christian, conservative, cross. You are associated with Jesus Christ if you are a true Christian. Be not deceived. Be not deceived. Christian nationalism is religion plus politics. It's establishing a country that has an established church, their church, what they say is church. It says Christianity is the dominant moral and cultural order. Now that sounds good if you're a Christian, but what is their definition of being a Christian? Their definition follows the Abrahamic religions, which I wrote about in my book, how the Abrahamic religions, as described by the Abrahamic Accords, does not follow the Jesus of the Bible, does not follow that Jesus Christ is God. And that is a direct violation of the Noahide laws, which is another issue. If you haven't watched that, you want to go out and watch that on my YouTube channel. So there's double standards throughout this. OMB, which is where Russell Vogt is, can direct on behalf of a president the amount, the duration, the purpose of any apportioned funding to ensure against waste, fraud, and abuse, and ensure consistency with the president's agenda and the applicable laws by the president. So this is, again, under the president, not Congress, not what we the people. For example, there was a Verizon contract with the government. Musk said, oh no, I'm taking it and I'm giving it to Starlink. Just automatically. Just did it. So taking it away from from the government and having influence over this contract to go to him as a private citizen. Also, in this Project 2025, it brings in the Sabbath rest about Judeo-Christian, being a Judeo-Christian. God ordained the Sabbath day of rest, it says, and it's a Judeo-Christian tradition to honor that mandate by moral and legal regulation. Well, it's Judeo-Catholic, actually, because a Christian cannot follow Judaism. Judaism is a totally separate religion. So it's really Judeo-Catholic. And so what they want to do is they say that day would default to Sunday. Well, Sunday is not the Sabbath. They're saying now that the Sabbath is going to default to Sunday. Well, not everybody believes that. Real Christians follow the Sabbath, and the Sabbath is on Saturday, from Friday to Saturday sundown. And so it says, except for employers with a sincere religious observance. Now that could be Jewish. I know the Seventh-day Adventists or look at that on the Sabbath from Friday to Saturday, and a lot of Christians do. But this law, it says, is going to default to Sunday. Well, Sunday goes back to Constantine with the mixture of the Christian and the Roman paganism. And so the bottom line is the government starting to tell you when you can honor God on which day is the Sabbath. And there's all kinds of labor laws put in here, all kinds of labor laws about how you're going to pay people and how you'll have to prove that what your observance is of the Sabbath. So there's a lot of people already talking about this. You can find some videos online about this, about how in 1610 they brought this law back in that everybody had to go and go to church twice a day on Sunday. That's where it escalated to when the Sunday law was in the United States in 1610. And now, people are saying that the Project 2025 is the start of bringing that back in again. So I do have some links, and I'm going to put a link to these YouTube videos where you can hear them. I'll put those links in the description for you. And also the links that I've referenced throughout will be in the description. But the Sunday comes from Constantine, meaning the day of the sun. Constantine decreed that would be the day that magistrates and the people would rest and all the workshops would be closed. But again, a lot of Christians like to celebrate it on Saturday. So it could cause some things once this gets into they start trying to push this one from the document. So Jews are exempt from the Sunday law. Non-Jews are prohibited from observing the Sabbath because the commandment is just to remember the Sabbath. So Jews kind of get out of it. They're exempt from the Sunday law. But if you want to worship God on Saturday and you want to do your shopping on Sunday, there may be a problem with that coming up. So now there's another organization called Ziklag, and it's a secret organization of wealthy Christians who tried to sway the election and change the country by using their money to finance and to push forward this Project 2025. So this came from over 100 conservative organizations put their money behind this document. Okay, so we're going to look at what is conservative. Some of the organizations, you can find all the organizations on the link that I'm going to put in the description. You can find over 100 of them. You can see Liberty University is one. I know some professors there that got fired because they didn't support Trump. Dr. James Dobson, Focus on the Family. He is come out supporting keywords that's supporting the Noahide laws. He expresses his determination to do whatever necessary to restore the observance of the moral law. He said that God created wisdom before he created anything else, and the moral law is the law of the universe. Well, the moral law and wisdom, it eliminates Jesus Christ. People will say the Holy One of Israel or the people of faith. And so this Hebrew roots movement, which is out of the Kabbalah, which is out of witchcraft, has moved into the church, infiltrated the Christian church, and now the Christian church has put their money behind this Project 2025, behind Trumpism, which is now, maybe they're not even aware, behind the Noahide laws. So what is conservatism? Conservatism is a cultural, social, and political philosophy. It's an ideology to promote and preserve traditional institutions, customs, and values. It all sounds good. But it's to promote and preserve the family, the religion, the military, the nation, the state, property rights, rule of law, aristocracy, which is the upper classes, and a monarchy, and prioritizing religious ideology over diversity. So they want what they say is Christian, what they say is conservative over any kind of diversity. Now, it also goes for diversity of religion, not just diversity from skin color or sex or any other type of thing that's been used before in the quote unquote woke thing. It's also about diversity of religion, meaning one religion. So conservative beliefs and principles is also part of this conservatism. That means there'll be no diversity for religion. It's the natural law. Going back to what I think is going to be those 7 Noahide laws. It's a conviction that society requires orders and classes of people. So the upper class is going to rule. A belief that property and freedom are closely linked. You've heard that, you'll own nothing and be happy. Okay, so that probably plays into that. A faith that innovation must be tied to existing traditions and also have a respect for political value. So if you are innovative, you have to make sure that what you're doing ties to the political value of the country. Conservative authority is the authority of the father, represented by actual fathers That sounds good because we need fathers as well as conceptual fathers, such as priests or monarchs or rabbis. So the authority of the master um, is also represented by the upper class, military, and you're talking about religion again, religion and politics controlling the country. So there are some good things in Project 2025 that I agree with. Abolishing the teaching of critical race theory and the gender ideology in public schools, deleting terms such as diversity, equity, and inclusion, gender equity. They also deleted reproductive health from every federal rule, agency regulation, contract, grant, and piece of legislation that exists. But be aware, there's along with the good is coming a lot of change. Now, J.D. Vance wrote the foreword to this. Now, this is just the beginning. This book, this 900 plus pages with Trump's names in it 312 times, is just one of four pillars for this presidential time period. Now, apparently, there's a database they're keeping on the members. There's 10,000 members of this. They will have access to this database to review who they want to approve for presidential appointments, and then they will have a presidential administrative academy to teach people how government functions and how to function in the government. Basically, the Trumpism. And then the second document, which is a secret document that I can find, is a playbook saying how the government agencies that they've dismantled, how they're going to transition those and how they're going to implement those plans quickly to change. So what you might have thought was Health and Human Service or TSA or whatever, now they're all scrapped and they've got something else. My understanding is the Department of Education has gone away, that Israel has asked President Trump to implement the Department of Morality to teach the 7 Noahide laws. So this is something that's in this second document that's not available to the public. So is finding fraud and waste a distraction? You know, this Department of Doge that's claiming to be cutting fraud and waste that's great. Yeah, we need to do that, but doing it with a chainsaw isn't the way to do it, and a hatchet. What we're finding is when you look closer, it may be just an excuse to get data and to gain power for the higher classes. So their targets reveal the influence of the controversial project, and there's very little evidence that they're saving very much for the American taxpayers. For example, there's an attack directly in the project on the Department of Labor. There's a direct attack. You know, we know for a fact, Musk has already said he's going to have 10,000 personal robots by the end of the year. So the goal is to replace the humans with robots. That's the goal. And to grab that data. Doge has taken data and also finding out information about whistleblowers, taking all that information, private information where people were protected, taking all this information from OSHA, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Wage and Hour Division, the Federal Employees Compensation Act claims, workers' comp. All of this is sensitive worker information, and including labor laws. It's sources of data. Data is valuable. The more data that someone has on you, the more they can control you. This is the wealthiest individual in the world. He has an estimated $3 billion in contracts with the U.S. government and a long history of anti-labor management practices. He has 17 open investigations by these agencies that he's cutting into Tesla, and SpaceX. His own employees have accused him of overwork, speed up and injury, substandard industry pay, and anti-union harassment. And, Trump's come out saying he's for gas cars, but now he's buying an electric one. He's supporting the rich man. The poor Elon lost some money, so now we have to have the president promote his business for him. So who's benefiting? We've got, this project is about going from government to private. Who's private? What's the private people that's going to get the business? That's going to get the promotion. Now there is a website, and I will put that in the description, where you can search. There's 34 agencies you can search with 49 different subject areas, and you can see what they have started, what they have finished, and what they're planning to do in all these different organizations and all these different subject areas. For example, one of the most silliest things, I didn't go and look at all of them, but they're not really planning to deport all these people. They're planning to put them in, let them be housed in shipping containers. It says the administration is reportedly in talks to use shipping containers to house detained immigrants. So that's in progress. In progress is to get rid of the Office of Accountability, so nobody's accountable, and the whistleblower protection. So nobody's going to come forward and tell anything. And where are they putting all this information? They're putting it on X. And who owns X? Elon. So all the information that they're advertising, or a lot of the information, a lot of the news, he wants X to be your news source, your banking source. He wants everything to go through X. And you can see that's where they're sourcing a lot of this. Now, not started yet, and I don't agree with either one of these, is to weaken regulations on baby formula. Repeal the federal mandate to label genetically engineered food. I mean, that's the first thing I look for when I buy something. Is it GEO? So that they don't have to label that anymore. You can they can do whatever they want to the food, and it doesn't have to be labeled. These are some things I just found on the fly going through there. And they're prioritizing funding for faith-based organizations. So if somebody wants to go down and help North Carolina that's in a disaster, and you're a faith-based organization, you can't really get the funding through you, even though that group maybe can be an outreach, but Franklin Graham can. Now, I'm not saying anything about Samaritan's Purse. They do excellent work, wonderful work. But we do know, too, that Franklin Graham is in line with what the political agenda is. So, should it be open just for one organization, or should every faith-based organization be able to apply to go down and help? That's been completed. That's done. Also completed is the withdrawal from the United Nations Human Rights Council. We already know that nobody's following their international court regulations and the findings, for any kind of charges against political people. So that's not being followed by Israel or by the United States. So the other thing is to weaken federal employee unions. Well, that's already happening. It's in progress right now to make sure that federal employees cannot have a union. And that, to not be able to have anybody stand up for your rights. They want to take away all of your power to stand up for what you want as an employee. But, Congress can be influenced. They can be influenced by AIPAC. That's not taken away. They have lobbyists, all these lobbyists from Israel that says, that they've spent over $100 million on the 2024 elections, and they got 318 Zionist candidates to win. They have spent money on more than 80% of 469 seats. So foreign countries can bring bribery here, and this is directly out of the Jerusalem Post. They can bribe our Congress people, but United States citizens can't be part of a union to lobby for their rights. And we know that Trump alone got $100 million from Mary Mendelsohn and almost $300 million from Elon. And he's doing the bidding for her, what she wants. She wants the West Bank annexed. That's being done. So, she's worshipped him, saying there needs to be a book of Trump in the Bible. So where is the fraud? The fraud is at the top. And ending the First Amendment is a part of this. Protecting the freedom of speech is the very first amendment of the U.S. Constitution. And now we're seeing that there is not a right of the people to assemble peacefully. If you want to assemble at a college, your college is at risk of losing hundreds of millions of dollars. So, this is taking away the rights of the people and replacing the Constitution with this Project 2025. I mean, has this ever happened for any other group? Has anybody that's protested with Black Lives Matter or any group? I don't care what it is. They should have the right to protest peacefully, as long as they're not being violent. So here we have 400 million that was canceled. And we can see the bribery of all these states that have passed that you can't criticize Israel in order to do business. So, part of that Noahide is to come under Jewish authority so they can implement. And once they get everybody to agree to these things and everybody agrees, then it's done. It's over. Everybody agrees. Silence means that you agree. So I am bringing this information to you because I can't be silent. I do, and in my opinion, I do believe that this document is to destroy the Constitution, to replace the Constitution, and to prepare the United States for the Noahide laws. You can find my book on Amazon. Truth is not of this world. Take heed, be not deceived. You can find my email address here, my websites, and if you're not a subscriber on YouTube, you can find my messages there. Thank you for listening, and let me know if you have any questions or feedback.